Chapelizod, a small historical village that is located beside Phoenix Park and the Irish National War Memorial Gardens, having the River Liffey flowing through the town to Dublin, where it's approximately 6 kilometers from here. Hello, and how are you? My name is Izzy Carty, and today I would like to talk to you a little bit about my hometown of Chapelizod, where its set and beauty has been an attention to nobles and artists for centuries. Firstly, I'd like to tell you why the town is called Chapelizod, and by doing that, I must tell you the romantic legend of Tristan and Isolde. Tristan, the Cornish knight, travelled to Ireland to bring the Irish princess Isolde to his uncle, King Mark of Cornwall, so they can be wed. Isolde's mother knows that she does not love the king, so she made a love potion and secretly gives it to her in her drink. But Isolde, not knowing the potion in her drink, shares the drink with Tristan. Then when they looked into each other's eyes, they immediately fell madly in love with each other. Isolde has no choice but to marry King Mark, but the young couple is still in love and secretly meets while the king goes on his hunting trips. King Mark, in the end, found out about the lovers' affair and exiled Tristan from Britain to never see Isolde again. Tristan did as he was told and left to live in Ireland, where he married Isolde of White Hands. He never really loved her and still thinks about his true love. Many years later, Tristan was wounded in battle by an arrow. Tristan was dying from his wounds, and he believed that the only person that could save him was his beloved Isolde. So he asked his friends, Condine, to sail to Cornwall and bring Isolde here. Tristan tells Condine to sail back with white sails if he is bringing Isolde, and black sails if he is not. Isolde agrees to return to Tristan with Connad, but Tristan's jealous wife lies to Tristan about the color of the sails. From that, Tristan dies of grief and from his wounds. When Isolde found him dead, she died swooning over his corpse. It says that her body was brought and buried in Chapelizod. To honor her, the townspeople built a chapel and named it the Chapelizod, now known today as the Nativity of the Virgin Mary. And from the chapel, that's how we got the name Chapelizod. Next, we have the Anne Levi Bridge, which was built in the 1660s, and its original name was Chapelizod Bridge. This stone arch bridge was renamed in 1982 to mark the centenary of James Joyce's birth. This is where the famous Irish writer put the locations in his 2 books. One of them is called Finnegan's Wake, where it talks about a man who dreams about the odd going-ons in Chapelizod. And in the dream, his wife, Anne Levi, the name that was given to the bridge, was a principal character in Joyce's book, and she symbolizes the River Liffey and all rivers in the world. In her final monologue, she recalls her life as she walks along the Liffey. Joyce's other book, The Dubliners, a book of short stories, within one of the stories called A Painful Case, is where James Duffy moves from Dublin to Chapelizod so to escape from the mean, modern, and pretentious of the city. In the book, Duffy would visit a public house near this very bridge. Speaking of locations in Joyce's book, Finnegan's Wake, the next one that we are going to talk about is where the book takes place in and around a pub called the Mullingar House, on the city side of the village. The character, Humphrey Chipton Earwicker, would run the pub. The interesting thing about this character is that he's largely based on Joyce's father, John Joyce. From 1873 to 76, John Joyce had a well-paid job as a secretary to the Chapelizod distillery and spent many happy times drinking in the Mullingar Hotel, as it was then called. Joyce looked back to his times in the Mulligar, run by the Borden family, as the lost golden age. So from this, on the top of the front door of the pub has a plaque that reads, "Home of all the characters, elements in James Joyce's novel, Finnegan's Wake." Sadly for me though, I cannot go into the pub to have a nice pint of Guinness. And finally, we have this green and white telephone box. The Irish telephone box has been used between the 1920s and the 1980s. It helped create one of the first links to the outside world. They brought news of births and deaths and played a certain roles in the lives of those both lovesick and homesick. There are only a few left in Ireland, and we have one here in Chapelizod. In today's world, people don't know what this is. This used to be a public telephone. Before this, people just used this, and the model in there is called Sinead. And 3 years ago, the tidy towns were built to show a little bit of history of Chapelizod. And it's good that I have this. Oh, the phone's dead. Sinead, what have you done in there? Well, that is it for today for me and this video, and I hope you learned a lot from this interesting and wonderful town called Chapelizod. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope to see you in Chapelizod